Okay, here we have the turbo that we removed yesterday, and I want to talk a little bit about a few pieces that we have here. Okay, if you notice here, there are two 10mm bolts that go here on the pedestal to secure it down. Inlets are right here at the bottom, and basically what we have going here is this is a part of the actuator for the exhaust back pressure valve, and this is a useless piece of nonsense, and it's in the way. You can see that I got a light here and we're looking in. This is the exhaust back pressure valve. It comes on according to oil temperature. When the motor's cold, it turns. So what we're going to do is we're going to see right there at the end of my thumb, there's a rivet there and there's another one right down the shaft. I'm going to grind those off with a Dremel tool, and this fin will pop right off the front after I grind those two rivets off the back there. And then the whole assembly right here on the top is going to slide right out, and then it's pretty basic after that. After you slide that whole assembly out, let's get a closer look here. In fact, I'm going to switch this up. That's a lot better. So after you remove these two rivets off the inside, the plate comes off and this assembly slides right out the top, and you put a 3/4 inch freeze plug right there at the top. And I'm going to use a little bit of adhesive too. I'm going to use some high temp RVT silicone when I cram it in there. And again, it's a 3/4 inch freeze plug, and that'll remove the fin from here. Now, that's only half the battle. We also want to go ahead, get the light on here. We also want to, this whole housing right here, this is where the actuator, this actuator arm, the piece bolts on right here. On the end, you can see where I'm holding it on. Okay, and then that rod right there is what actuates it. It gets engine oil. The temperature is what actuates that thing open and close. But this big hump is just in the way. It's definitely in the way. So what we're going to do is pull that snap ring in the back, and everything I do believe just pushes right back through out the front, and this thing is hollow. And then you use the oil galley for in here, or where the oil comes up into here, is not tapped or anything, but after we clean it out, we can tap it and put a 1/4 inch plug in there. So on what I'm going to do is right now I'm going to pull it all out and separate the turbo from the pedestal by these 4 bolts here on the bottom, and I'm going to send all that stuff in to the machine shop. The pedestal hollowed out and the EVP. So that's basically step 1 in the process. I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off and pull everything out. When I have all the pieces out, I'll turn the camera back on and we can get a look at that. Okay. We went ahead and pulled the pedestal off. Okay. We removed the snap ring. We removed the snap ring from the back here. It holds this cap into place. This cap goes in. Okay. and then the snap ring goes in right on top of it. Okay, and behind all that was this actuator rod and spring and junk. Okay, this is trash. We don't want that anymore. That came out of the hole. We're not going to use that piece anymore, and it gets the bar out of the way for ease of reassembly. We do, however, want to keep the cap and the ring. Okay, need to keep those both because we're going to cap that back off, and we're going to have the machine shop tap that out so a 1/4 inch pipe nut goes right on the end of there. I don't know if you can see that here. Let me set it like that. There's a better view. I'll put some light on it. There you go. So you can see that the cap nut, 1/4 inch pipe cap nut right there, and we're gonna I put the cap back in there, but we got the cap back in there, and the snap ring is going to go on top, and that'll close it up, and that modifies our pedestal. Okay, and you'll also remember this piece right here that goes on the back side of the turbo. As you can see now, it's clear through, straight as a whistle. For a minute. Okay, so this guy goes on here right like that. At the factory, it's pressed in there. Okay, so basically you got to take quite a bit. If you look here, you'll see that those are ground down a lot, and they used to go through these holes. You'll look here, you can see all the grinding I did into the bar too. So there's quite a bit, you got to remove quite a bit of meat. Okay, and then how I started off was I was using a punch, and you could clearly see the line where the two holes were after you drilled the head off, and I started punching them, alternating left to right using a punch to back them up. And you don't want to get too overzealous on that. This is the punch I was using, this is a real brand. It's a Dasco. This is not a generic. This is made in USA, forged steel. This is not junk Harbor Freight tool, and I broke the tip right off it. So don't get overzealous pounding on this mofo. I wasn't using a huge hammer either. I was using a small, smooth-faced electrician's hammer. I find that that's the best hammer for pounding on shit with, other than like a rubber mallet or a wood mallet for when the situation calls for it. But this was definitely a regular hammer time. And so I snapped the end off it. Well, when I snapped the end off, it wasn't all the way out. It was only out about like that far. So I took this bigger chisel and I put it in along the wedge. See what I'm saying? Like it was together like that. I put the chisel in, boom, and separated it off from right in the middle. Again, if they were together like so, I put the chisel in right here. You know what I mean? It was like that, and they still weren't separated yet. So I stuck the chisel in there and popped them apart. You pull this out, and this number is just floating in there. Pulls right out the top. So once that's out, you can freeze plug it. So I'm going to take this part to the machine shop and have them press a 3/4 inch freeze plug in there, and I'm going to have them tap and put a 1/4 inch pipe bolt in there, and that'll complete the modification for the turbocharger and the EBV Delete. Let me do a tool recap like I normally do. So basically for this project you're going to need a couple different punches. The bolts on the bottom to release it from the pedestal are 10mm. Mine were stuck, so I did use the 1/2 inch wrench to 3/8 inch combination down to 10mm. So I went with that. You do need some punches. You're going to need a light hammer, and I do believe yeah, that's it. Oh, you know what, you're going to need a pair of snap ring pliers. Okay, these snap ring pliers to pull that snap ring out of the back of the EBV valve. So there you go. There's basically how you do that mod. Okay, so thumbs up, YouTube.